What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bearded Fireflies Wrestling Podcast. New show that Chris and I thought up of. The old show, the Four Corners Podcast. It was fun, and it was fun while it lasted. But some things happened, and some things had to change. I had to get a new co-host, and I'm cool with that. Love Chris. He's one of my best friends, and with the new co-host, we had to come up with a new name, new concept, and everything like that. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. Everybody knows who the fuck I am. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, first of all, thanks for thinking of me to be a co-host on here. Been watching wrestling since I was about 7 years old. Obviously, as you can tell, spend money. I'm invested in WWE. Have watched it forever. Number one favorite wrestler of all time is John Cena. We've had that conversation a million times. Glad you're starting to come around to him. Yeah, man, I've been a WWE diehard forever, man. I didn't really watch too much of WCW, but I am aware of the things that has gone on in the company. AEW I've given a chance here and there. But yeah, WWE's been pretty much my whole life.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So tell us, what is your first match you remember watching?
Oh, my first match. The earliest memory that I have is probably Big Show and Boss Man. I think is like one of the first matches I remember. I do kind of remember some early like Austin Vince stuff, like the Ministry of Darkness and Austin stuff. I remember those segments. I've been watching for so long, it's hard to remember the first one that I ever watched, you know?
Oh, yeah. All right. And what, in your opinion, is your favorite match of all time?
Oh, man. My favorite match of all time has to probably be Triple H versus HBK at the Royal Rumble. The Last Man Standing match, I think, had probably the best ending I've ever seen to a match. I don't think there's too many matches that touch that match.
Yeah, is that the one where Triple H took the sledgehammer to his back?
No, so that was SummerSlam. That was leading up to this Rumble match.
Yeah, because that was where he took a break. HBK.
Yeah, right. That return for HBK was incredible. When Triple H turned on HBK, I'll never forget my reaction. Like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life.
I remember seeing that, and I remember watching like when Triple H was when they came out, right, and they were trying to do the DX thing, and he hit the pedigree on Shawn Michaels. I was like, oh shit! One of the craziest things. That's back when I thought wrestling was real.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Still real to me. Why would you do this? Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty insane. So after all these years, what keeps you engaged in wrestling as a fan?
I just think the way that wrestling just continues to evolve, whether it's talent, whether it's character. For anybody who has known me for a while, I wasn't the biggest Roman Reigns fan in his babyface run. And I think a lot of people can probably make that statement too, because he was a very poor babyface. Vince just booked him into an oblivion. And I loved him in the Shield. I was a really big Seth Rollins fan, still am. And he was my pick to break out of the Shield. When he did, I was so happy because his first heel run was incredible. But looking at the landscape of wrestling right now, I mean, Roman Reigns is on top of the industry, and he has single-handedly changed how the business runs, has had a outstanding title run, and is arguably the greatest character since Rock and Austin, maybe Cena.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Roman is one of those characters that, like, later on, we look at and put up there with it sucks to say, but the Hogans, the San Martinos, the Austins, some of the more polarizing figures, right? And like, it's crazy that his evolution, right? Because every character needed that nexus. Every character needed that that one thing to unlock the potential, and that his heel turn was honestly, in my opinion, at the right time, at the perfect time, because they got all the hate out of the way with his
Right.
baby run and the shoving it down our throats, all that stuff. So yeah, I think he'll be up there with one of the polarizing characters in all of professional or all of wrestling
Agreed.
uh, in the future. And then
And when you
when he does what Cena's doing and periodically comes back, they're gonna be like he's the GOAT, right?
right. And with Roman, if you look back in the pandemic era, I mean, I know wrestling fans like myself, and I'm sure you don't like looking back on the pandemic, like empty crowds and the Thunderdome and all that stuff. But one really big positive for me to take out of the pandemic era is we got character work, we got promos, and a lot of the guys and girls that weren't great at promos were cutting promos. Like,
Yeah,
look at Jey Uso, look at Jimmy. The
yeah,
character work those guys had
yeah,
was almost perfection,
yeah.
and it forced NXT to rebrand because Black and Gold, while it was okay for the longest time, I can genuinely say I go back and watch Black and Gold before the pandemic and don't like it anywhere near as much as I like the new NXT.
Yeah, I enjoyed Black and Gold, but like looking back now, I realized that there was a lot of flaws in the system. Right, it
Oh
was
yeah,
just a lot. It was a lot of guys that were known on the independents that came in that had that name already established for them. Right, so when they come over, people are like super hyped, like the Undisputed Era when they had Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, and Roger Strong. Right, and then like your Pete Dunnes and all these other guys. They already had a name for themselves. Whereas like now, these men and women that are coming into NXT have to make a name for themselves. There is no coming from the independents anymore. Like they have to make a fucking name for themselves. And the fact that you got your Tiffany Strattons and your Braun Breakers, like Braun wasn't even a wrestler prior to this, which is impressive in its own because the man
same
moves
with
like
Tiffany.
yeah, they move like they've been doing it for years.
Right. And not that I completely dislike the indie stars because there are some remarkable talents, but there are very few that get every aspect of the business. If there's one thing I don't like, it's spot monkeys. I don't like people that constantly feel the need to throw 45 spots in a 5-minute match.
Yeah.
Like look at guys like Vikingo, for instance, one of the fastest guys I've ever seen in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last night, they did a spot that went all over Twitter where he did a suicide dive so fast, he smacked his head on the announcer table going like 20 miles an hour. And it's things like that that make me dislike indie wrestling because it's like, okay, when is enough going to be enough? You're going to wait until somebody passes away, heaven forbid, in the ring, like Owen Hart did. I mean, I know it's two different situations, but it's going to get to a point where somebody's going to either be paralyzed, somebody's going to lose their life in that ring before you say enough is enough. And you look at the new landscape of NXT where, yeah, there are those indie level talents in there, but the difference is we have that connection between the main roster and NXT now. Sure, you can blame it on Vince of all the failed NXT guys, but you also got to remember Vince McMahon is working with casual fans. He's not working with full sale indie crowds.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like, sure, I agree. Vince ruined a lot of talent and a lot of potential, but at the same time, I'll use this example forever. You remember the Ascension?
Yeah.
When they were in NXT, they were over as hell in Full Sail. And again, we're talking about a Full Sail indie crowd. The second they went up to the main roster, they completely flopped because they didn't have character. They couldn't do promos for shit. And again, people can blame Vince, but at the end of the day, Triple H is just as responsible for those talents' failures as Vince was.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think you got very lucky teams or very, very lucky individuals who come up to the main roster and they make it big, right?
Yep.
And I think, Seth Rollins, Big E, Roman are three of the big names right off the top of my head that made it when they got to the main roster, and it wasn't even right. Finn's another one.
Damian Priest, Riddle.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, right. And but you got all these names right that made it big when they got to the main roster because they understood the concept of everything that Vince was trying to cover, and they were just over as fuck when they came over.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know you're not much of a fan of FTR or the Revival, but they were another.
I like them.
Okay,
just not as people.
Yeah. When they're, in my opinion, one of the best tag teams alive.
Easily.
Them and the Usos, yeah, and they're two of the best tag teams alive with the Usos and FTR, and to be honest, when they came up and they made their main roster debut against New Day, I freaked the fuck out. I marked the hell out.
Right? And then, do you remember what happened after they debuted? They got hurt.
They got hurt. Yep.
One dude, what was it? He broke his jaw, and then the other one, I think, tore his bicep or something.
Yeah, they're and they're really injury prone, and that's the hard thing to watch is like seeing these guys that are, out there busting their ass, and they're just injury prone. Like they got injured multiple times in WWE. Flash forward, they go to AEW, and they are either working on injuries or they are continuously injured, and it's just sad to see because they get a little momentum and boom, it's taken away.
Bro, look at Daniel Bryan. Look at how much Vince protected that man. He has been injured, what? This is the 5th time since he's been there?
Every high-profile match he gets injured.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And it's like, I have nothing wrong with dream matches. Like, okay, cool. He got to face Okada. Broke his arm the first time. Now he has a broken orbital bone? Like, come on, bro. Like, and that's what the thing that bothers me about indie fans, and I'll put AEW fans right there with indie fans. They're bloodthirsty. They do not care about a wrestler's health. And I know that may be a little harsh to say out loud, but let's call a spade a spade. MJF was right. Rey Mysterio was right. All these fans don't care about these wrestlers' health. And it's going to take somebody dying in the ring for that to sink in.
That is one of the main reasons why I don't actively pay attention to AEW anymore.
Yeah. Look at what happened with Kenny Omega and Ospreay. He spiked Ospreay, or he spiked Omega on his head.
Yep. I think that certain spots, blood spots should be in matches, but not all of them, and that's why I have a problem with Mox. Right, I love watching Mox. I love his character work. I love his attitude, and I love his in-ring work. But what I have a problem with is watching him bleed every match, and it's literally every match, and it's like, how much blood are you going to have to lose before you have to get a blood transfusion?
Right.
And people can say, "Oh, it's just bleeding." I mean, that's cool, but still, reality is it's happening.
And it's happening on free television.
Yeah, and there's nothing special about bleeding anymore. If you look in the Attitude Era, which everybody hails as the best era, in my opinion, I don't think it was.
I don't either.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll talk about that. But there was blood almost every night. Every show, every show, there was blood, and it took the appeal out of it. I remember watching like The Undertaker versus Austin in the first blood match, and I was like, well, this is
was that when Austin was already busted open?
Yep, he got busted open on Heat, and then had to do
like early on in the night. Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, he was busted open on Heat, and then that match was for the WWF Championship at the end of the show. And so they had time to stitch them up or whatever. I mean, it was cool, but like you get matches where or periods where there's just blood every night, and it's like, well, there's nothing special about blood anymore, right? I remember okay. I don't know. You might be too young or may not have seen this match, but Austin versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 14.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
That was a polarizing.
He passed out from blood. Yeah.
That was a polarizing moment because that was one of the times.
And they ruined it.
Yeah. And then they ruined
because now Wheeler Yuta is overdoing it.
Yeah. Elisa Aste says, "What's up, guys? How are you doing? What's going on? Thanks for joining in the conversation." Yeah,
Yeah, thank
but now you got guys that are just fucking bleeding all the time, and
yeah,
it's not appealing. It's not enjoyable.
right.
Um,
Like, you remember when they brought Nick Gage into AEW
yeah,
and they started doing death
yep,
matches and light tubes and the pizza cutter and shit? It's just like, all right, bro. Like, at some point, you just have to draw the line on what these talents can do. And that's why I respect Vince, because Vince put his foot down on a lot of bullshit.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look, Vince has put his foot down on a lot of bullshit, right? Like unprotected chair shots went away after the Benoit incident. And yeah, I mean, granted,
Yep.
we can look at Benoit and point the fingers 1,000 different ways, but the fact of the matter is concussions are a huge part of today's mental health society, right? And so,
Look at Mick
oh
Foley.
yeah,
Mick Foley's
oh yeah,
another
oh
one.
yeah, oh yeah, and watching these men and women take some of the spots that they take, it's very like, oh fuck, hope they're not really hurt.
And you know what really bothers me is when you got guys like Mox who will openly say he wants better concussion protocols, right? Meanwhile, he'll work the same style matches. He'll still do all the same BS that's going on in the ring every single week. And he gets concussed the first 5 minutes of his match
Yep.
because of stupidity.
Yep. Yep. Elisa says about wrestling, my favorite is Hulk Hogan. Mine was Hulk Hogan when I was a kid, and then I grew up and I started really enjoying the work of Macho Man and Mick Foley. She says Mick Foley was OG. Yeah, Mick Foley was. I got to meet him in 2019. Hell of a human being. But yeah, and I think that taking these spots and putting your life at risk for the entertainment of other human beings, regardless of as to who they can be the president of the United States or Jesus himself. The fact of the matter is it's not worth it. You're risking longevity of your life,
Right.
and I mean, for fuck's sake, if we're looking, like, let's take wrestling out of the equation and look at Bruce Willis. That man did a lot of his own stunts, and now he's suffering from it, right, because of the concussion.
Yep.
So, yes.
And look at instances like at All In, that match with Joe and
Oh
Punk,
yeah.
that clip that went viral of him stabbing himself in the forehead.
Yep. It's
And it's just like, bro,
it's nonsense.
blood is not something that needs to be in wrestling anymore. I'm sorry.
Nope. I agree. All right, but the purpose why we are here to talk about the weekend wrestling. What happened, and a week ago today, actually, I was in the middle of watching it at this time last week, was Crown Jewel, and Crown Jewel.
Yeah, but
Overall, if you had to look at Crown Jewel and be like, success, flop, what would you say, Chris?
I would say it was very successful. I think every match delivered. I think Rhea Ripley probably looked the best that she's ever looked in any women's match. Um, Kyrie Sane coming back was really wholesome. Um, LA Knight was able to hang in there with Roman. I was very impressed because I've been not a doubter of LA Knight, but more so I just don't really care for the guy, mainly because of his fan base.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins and Drew, I think, had one of the best matches.
Yeah. I would say that that's one of Drew's best matches he's ever had.
Heavy shout out on Logan Paul for saving Rey Mysterio's life.
Right. Logan did save his life, and I want to touch on Logan for a second. I see a lot of people on social media trashing Logan and calling for him, to drop the U.S. Championship and get fired. But why?
So, from my understanding, he's got some like shady stuff going on with Puerto Rico, and he's just not like the best person, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I don't really look into stuff like that. I read some comment that said he only won because of white privilege. I'm like, you know what? That's when I stopped listening to any criticism you guys offer because, wow.
Right. So I really enjoy watching Logan Paul. And the first match that he ever had, against Ray and Dom with him and The Miz, I was completely sold on Logan Paul, right? And my girlfriend was talking, and she's not like a fan like we are, and she doesn't know a lot, but she knows who Logan Paul is. And so when she was asking about how I felt about Logan wrestling, I was like, to be honest, I think it's a good thing, right? Like if you can perform in the ring and you can sell and you can work a mic and you have great ring presence, I think you should. And he checks all the boxes, man. And just over time, his match with Roman, his match with Seth at WrestleMania, even his other the matches that he's been having recently, dude, phenomenal, fucking stellar. And now the fact that he is U.S. champion, he did announce that he's retired from boxing, so he's going to be coming.
Yeah,
He's going to be an active part of the roster, and that's exciting because I want to see more of Logan Paul. Right?
agreed.
Maybe we hate the name, but I enjoy the fucking performance that he gives.
So, speaking from outside of wrestling, obviously you and I are both really big on mental health in the
Yep.
community. There was an instance, and I don't know if you know this or remember this. There was an instance of him going into the suicide forest,
Yep.
filming somebody who was gone.
Yep.
He long since apologized since that. He donated to the Suicide Foundation, and I feel like he's buried a lot of the demons that he had. I think he is growing as a person, and even more so now that he's with WWE because he's got a bigger spotlight than he had before. I mean, sure, he has a big following,
Yeah.
but now he's on a global audience on television. So I think WWE is like the best thing for him in terms of growth as a man and everything that he's doing with his platform.
Absolutely.
Because you had Michael Cole talking about this guy's boxing match. Like, the dude's a star, and he's going to bring in ratings.
And to be honest, I don't see his brother being too far behind him.
See, I don't know, because I feel like Jake is kind of, how do I say this? I think he's got a rougher personality than his brother does.
Yeah.
And I just don't foresee him coming to WWE. If he does, cool, but I don't know. I don't see him having the dedication that Logan does.
No. I mean, I don't think it would be a full-time schedule. It'd be cool if he showed up every once in a while, But
Yeah.
Okay, so moving off of Logan Paul, and we're gonna move into into Crown Jewel. I really thought we were gonna get a cash in, to be honest.
Yeah.
When they put that World Heavyweight Championship match first on the card, I was like, we're getting it. And then they teased it, right? And I was like, fucking yes, it's happening. And they swerved it again. Why do you think they're waiting?
I think they're just trying to test the waters on both reaction and if Damien's ready for that spot. Not saying that he couldn't carry it, but I just think he needs to be away from Judgment Day first to solidify him as a champion. Like, yeah, the cash-in is quote-unquote a heels prop, but I think that him cashing in on Seth when Seth is beaten down and battered, that's great. But what if he cashes in on a heel Drew if Drew's the one to take it off of Seth?
Well, think about it. I'm looking at it like this, man, and I see it from the perspective that you're sharing, but I also am looking at it like this, man. We always say that the championship doesn't make the man, right? Mm-hmm. But there's one instance where that was not true, and that's Edge. That cash in that he had at Revolution, I think it was New Year's Revolution.
Yeah, New Year's Revolution. Yeah,
that cash in catapulted him, literally
easily
catapulted him into
Seth Rollins too.
Yeah. It catapulted them because they were stale, man. I mean, earlier that night, Edge lost to Ric Flair. Right. He lost the Intercontinental title to Ric Flair, but then cashed in later on, right? So, like, I think that if conceptualized right, like you and I had talked about different scenarios where it could be cashed in with Damian Priest, and I think that would catapult him into superstardom, right? And like he would thrive in that shit, because like look at every situation he's been put in, and he's thrived in it, right? Even working with Johnny Gargano and Leon Ruff, I think his name was, phenomenal work. But um, I think that he would be put in that category of being catapulted into superstardom, where he is, where he's forced to step up his game, and I think he will in a big way.
And the best part about him is he's no longer a work rate wrestler. That's what he was for a really long time. Even in NXT, he was super work rate.
Yeah.
And not that I completely hate work rate guys, because I love Johnny Gargano, but I unfortunately don't really see much success even with this DIY thing right now. Just at the moment, because it doesn't really seem like they're going anywhere with it still. And that's based on reaction. That's based on how it's being booked, because the Creeds already went over them. Like, it's like, okay, the Creeds are obviously stars.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got guys like Damian Priest, who Vince almost fumbled.
Yeah.
He almost fumbled with the stupid facial expression thing.
Yeah.
Not many people remember that Damian Priest, and I'm glad I almost forgot it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I saw his match at WrestleMania. Wait, was it WrestleMania he had a match? No, it was Biggie and wait, no, he had a match at WrestleMania, didn't he?
Yeah, I want to say it was against Sheamus. Maybe I'm wrong.
The US title,
Yeah.
right? No, that was Sheamus and Riddle.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so never mind. He didn't have that WrestleMania that
No,
I
he
went
had-
to match.
He had against Bad Bunny with Bad Bunny the year prior.
Right. But, you know, I think Damian needs a little bit more time with Judgment Day. And I wouldn't mind seeing him cash in at the Rumble, truthfully, or even a WrestleMania cash in, because the last person to do it was Seth Rollins.
Yep.
So what better person to cash in on than Seth Rollins? You know what I mean? Truthfully, I don't want to see Seth hold on to it that long. I love Seth, but I think it's time that we get a credible champion.
Yeah.
Not that he's not credible, but I want to see a contender that can take it off of him. Like Shin, everybody's like, "Oh, why didn't Shinsuke win? Why didn't Drew win?" I'm like, okay, now let's look at it. If Shin won or if Drew won, what can either of those guys do that Seth can't do?
Right.
Seth can talk. Seth can work. Seth has the crowd in the palm of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you guys hate him, Seth is the champion for a reason.
Yep. Well, I mean, look at it too, man. Like he had that 3-month hiatus with Finn Balor, right? And him and Finn tore the goddamn house down. And then, you know, you got Shinsuke and him and Shin had that going. Him and Drew and him and Sammy. Now, like my thing is, at some point they're gonna have to pull the trigger on taking the title off him, because dude, Seth needs time to rest. Because that man, he's worked solid, if I'm not wrong, solid for the last 5 years. And that's a lot.
Easily.
That's a lot to put on your body at one time.
Right. And you know, the thing that bothers me the most about fans when it comes to Seth, more specifically online fans, but the fact that they were crying that he put over Cody 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Edge went over Seth.
Yep.
And Rollins was just putting everybody over, and they were pissed because he kept losing. I'm like, okay, so you make him world champion, and you guys hate him again.
Yeah.
Make up your minds.
Yeah, we don't enjoy what's given to us, and that's why I'm trying to change my view on how I see wrestling now. You know, watching from a perspective of just enjoying watching the product. So we'll move to Monday. We'll hit a little bit about Monday. So Monday, in my opinion, it was a good show. It was a decent show. You know,
was it bad?
Sammy and Seth tore the fucking house down at some point. You had to believe Sammy might have won that match.
Right.
You know,
and everybody was mad that he didn't win. I'm like, why would you have Sami Zayn beat Seth Rollins?
Right.
And then have him go over Drew. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense.
No, absolutely not. But really, I think what really capitalized for Raw was the end, where Judgment Day got involved and they jumped in and beat down everybody. And then, you know, you had you had Jey Uso come down, and then you had Cody come down, and they made the announcement.
Two nuclear pops, bro.
Oh yeah, dude.
I've never heard those guys get a louder reaction.
Jay is super over. Jay is super over, and I would love to see him with a singles title, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it.
Do you want to see? Would you want to see him beat Gunther?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. No.
Who would you have him take a title from?
Realistic.
I don't think he's ready for a world title.
No, he's not. I like to see him with a U.S. title, right? But that would indicate that U.S. title would have to go to Raw, or he would have to get traded back to SmackDown, and that's just not feasible if they're trying to keep him away from the bloodline. To be honest, I don't know. I don't want him to take it off of Gunther, because in my opinion, there's nobody on the fucking roster that can take the Intercontinental title off of Gunther.
I want to see Ilya Dragunov come up to the main roster and be the one to dethrone Gunther
again,
just like he did in NXT UK. Because man, people sleep, and I mean straight snoring sleep on Ilya Dragunov. That man does not have one bad match.
No,
not one.
There's only a handful of people that I can say that I can look at, like in WWE or all of professional wrestling, and say I've never seen a bad match out of Gunther. Fucking Dragunov. Never have had a bad match.
Facts.
And I would go as far as to say Carmelo Hayes as well.
So here's my thing with Carmelo. I'm a big fan of Carmelo. I have liked him since he debuted in the company. I love the way that he debuted in the company, because obviously I'm a big John Cena fan. My thing with Melo is I don't like tweeners.
Yeah.
I don't like on the fence babyface, on the fence heel.
Yeah.
Give me one or the other. And again, this is just old school mentality.
Yeah.
I don't like the tweener shit.
Mm-mm.
Like, it worked for Austin because Austin is a larger than life character.
Yeah.
Melo is not that at all.
No.
Trick Williams is a bigger star
Yeah.
than Melo.
Yeah.
And I love Melo, but Trick Williams just screams superstar.
Yeah. He screams money, and that, and it's crazy, but I don't really see anybody, with the exception of Dragunov, taking that title off of Gunther, and I'm okay with it, because what he's doing with that Intercontinental title is something nobody has been able to do. He's making that the fucking number one title in my
bro. That match he had with Bronson a couple weeks ago, I think was one of the best TV matches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And that's saying something, considering what we've all seen over the last years. Like, I would put that over any main event that Seth Rollins had.
Oh yeah. Well, see, the thing is I feel like they were putting Bronson Reed in positions to not be successful, right, as much as he tried. And then when he got released and he went to New Japan, he really honed, the Noah character, and then came back or the Jonah character, and then came back and was just brought it with him. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And I love every bit of what he's doing now.
So I think the thing with him is he was good in NXT, and then when it came to being called up, again, this is another hole in the black and gold conversation like we had. He didn't have a character.
No.
He didn't have that wow factor. I'm like, okay, you've got a couple gears made as an homage to Bam Bam. That's awesome. What do you bring that's going to make these fans give a shit?
Yeah.
And when he got brought back, I was against it. I was vocally against bringing Bronson Reed back, and mainly because of his temper tantrums on Twitter when he got released.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a great feeling to lose your job.
No.
It's not a great feeling to get fired or let go or leave a place of employment. But there's a professional way to deal with it, and he didn't take that route.
Absolutely.
And I was like, okay, let Bronson stay the fuck away. I don't want to see him.
Yeah.
But when he came back, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a chance. I was like, I'll give him a month, maybe 2 months, just to see where he's going to go.
Yeah.
Man, when he started getting reps in the ring and he was able to start delivering again, I'm like, okay, this is the Bronson I loved in NXT, and now we're seeing it tenfold. I love Bronson.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Fatal 4-Way match, we talked about it before we hit, go live. And that fatal 4-way match was actually really good. We talked about the botched finish, and I think that it was botched maybe potentially for a reason, setting up for something. But
Yeah.
if they're planning on putting the Intercontinental title on the Miz, that could be cool.
I don't think he should be the one to take out Gunther. I think
No.
that'd be a huge mistake.
I do too.
Like babyface Miz is arguably an incredible move,
Mm-hmm.
especially under Triple H.
Oh yeah,
because I've never seen that man work as good as he did on Monday.
Mhm.
Like I was blown away.
Yeah.
But for all the talent that Gunther has ran through, no, absolutely not.
No. If they would drop it to Miz, then everybody else that Gunther went through it, I feel like it would be like all for nothing. Like it has to be something. It has to be something where you get somebody that is of the same caliber, if not better. You know, I mean, fuck, dude. If they even called up Tyler Bate, which I don't see them doing anytime soon, but if they called up Tyler Bate, I could see Tyler Bate taking it off him. But I don't.
Here's my problem with Tyler. And I was having a conversation with somebody about Tyler Bate on NXT because he's like, oh, I don't really care for Tyler because he just works way too indie. And I said, so the problem with Tyler is, again, he's from that black and gold era where none of them were forced to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And his scapegoat was Trent Seven. Mustache Mountain was really over.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he doesn't have Trent, he's just kind of doing his same old spiel and hasn't evolved.
Yeah.
And if he gets called to the main roster, I don't doubt Triple H can make him successful, but I don't see Triple H making him believable enough to beat Gunther. Not like Ilya.
Facts.
Because when you look at Ilya, you look at a badass. You look at a Russian who would probably destroy everybody on that roster, including Roman.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a bold statement.
Yeah. So at the end of Raw, they announced that, or Adam Pearce announced that they are having War Games with the Judgment Day against Cody, Jay, Sammy, and Seth. And I think that is a great move, but I feel like there's a plot twist at the end that we're not going to see. We're not going to see coming. It's either going to be it could be a cash-in, because I don't think I've seen a cash-in at Survivor Series. It could be Drew turning and fucking, or Drew turning on everybody and helping Judgment Day to win.
Bro, that is the most genius thing I've ever heard of. If they somehow did that and had Damian cash in the War Games match, that would be freaking insane.
Look, idealistically, it could happen, and I'm going to tell you why and how it could happen. You get everybody going, they do the separate rings and then they battle in the middle. That's kind of like the final clash. And then you get every single person on the face team to get fucking chained to the fence, leaving Seth. Right? Damian pins Seth, but he just pins him to win. He just wins the match. And then he hands the briefcase over to the ref and says, "Here we go," and pins him.
I like it. I'm not gonna lie. That would be another first that they can make very successful.
Oh yeah, definitely. If done properly, it could be really successful. Or you could have Drew come in and wipe everybody out, right? Just fucking everybody. We're talking heels and faces, right? And then that leaves Damian to pin Seth.
Definitely not a bad move.
I think that he needs to do it on his own, though.
I agree. I think him doing it by with somebody's help would make him look severely weak.
Yep, I agree. Or have Judgment Day just destroy Seth and he be a part of it.
Or they should have Dom pin Seth.
Oh yeah, Dom pin Seth at the end, ultimate.
Please God, let it happen.
or JD McDonough.
You know what? I would love that for him because I'm a really big JD fan.
Yeah.
I think the absolute world of that guy. And I told him on Instagram, I said, bro, I know how hard you've been working. And I know this is a really big opportunity for you to go against Seth. And man, he did not disappoint.
No, dude, that was a hell of a match.
Yeah. And I think I would probably put JD in the same conversation as Dolph Ziggler in terms of selling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Like him selling the Crossroads on the table, I was just like, bro.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to SmackDown, and SmackDown last night was huge. It was huge. If
Top
you
tier.
didn't watch SmackDown,
Chef's
you
kiss.
missed a good fucking show. So it starts out where Ray's in the ring with LWO, and they're talking about Logan stealing the title, which I mean you can consider it a fucking highway robbery because of the brass knuckles that were used. And Carlito comes out, and Carlito shares that they shouldn't blame Logan as much as they should blame Santos because he left the knuckles on the ring apron. Now, Chris and I were texting. I was like, "Look, dude, it's coming," and we were debating on whether they're going to pull the trigger tonight, last night or not, and they fucking did in a big way. In a big way, Bobby Lashley had his matchup against Carlito. He beat Carlito, and then they were jumping Carlito at the end. Him and I want to call him Hurt Business. him and the Street Profits were
Profit business.
profit business. So we'll call them profit business. Where the profit. By the way, dude, like I love the Street Profits as heels. I don't care. They're more entertaining as heels than they were faces. But I guess I think I'm just a heel guy. Who knows? I'm gonna get a shirt made.
It depends on how the baby face is presented.
Yeah.
Because I could argue and say that I never needed a John Cena heel turn. Never once.
So Santos was on the ring apron watching all this happen and watching all this unfold, and he didn't jump in, and Ray came in with a chair. And I seen a meme on Facebook that like kind of explained everything, and Ray went and kind of shooed away the heels. Santos turned on Ray. Now, if you look in the history, the people closest to Ray are the ones that fuck him over. Batista, Eddie, Chavo,
yeah.
Goddamn, now Santos, right? Like this happens, and somebody said, I think it was Mommy. Mommy said,
Rhea said it. Maybe the problem is you.
Maybe the problem is you, Ray. I love it. Stoking those fires, dude. But I think honestly, this turn should have come for the U.S. title.
I think this was the best way they could have pulled the trigger, because as much as I love heel turns, I don't like rushed heel turns.
Yeah.
So like, you kind of already saw it was going to happen after Ray won the U.S. title, and it was kind of like a slow build. I'm like, okay, we're getting there, and then as soon as Carlito got brought in, then you're starting to notice Santos's whole demeanor starting to change a little bit.
Yeah, more aggressive. I think, the heel turn was great, but I think the interview after, like, I think it was Kathy Kelly or whatever her name is, ran after Santos and was like, "Can we ask why?" And you always get like either somebody looking and then turning away or walking away, or you get the you get the stupid explanations. But this one, he said he had it coming. I was like, "Fuck yes, he did. Yes, he did." Ray, you piece of shit. Right? But I mean, Ray's not a piece of shit, great human being. But that feeling of he had it coming was like, yep. Now the question is, do they turn Phoenix and Wild?
I was going to ask the same thing. Yeah.
Do they turn Phoenix and fucking Wild against Ray?
I think they should have Zelina turn too.
Yeah, reform Legado del Fantasma. I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it. I would love to see it happen. I would love to see him come back out, Santos come back out with that fucking luchador mask, right? Or even at some degree steal Ray's mask and then come out. And I know that's disrespectful, but I mean, that's the angle they're taking.
Right.
Steal his mask and then wear it out every night of that feud.
See, my only problem with that is I kind of feel like that's been overdone for Ray's part. You know what I mean? Like the removing of the mask thing. Yeah. And them being respected luchadors, I just don't. I don't know. I think Santos coming out and bringing up Dom would probably be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think Zelina turning and being aligned with Legato or whatever they're going to be called now would be great because people have been shitting on Santos basically since he debuted on the main roster.
Oh yeah. Why do you think it's a full turn that they turn everybody at one time, or do you think it's a
I think it'll be
systematic
a slow burn.
slow burn?
I'm curious on Carlito's loyalties
Yeah.
because I don't like babyface Carlito at all. I actually hate it.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't look like a face. Like at Backlash, I'm like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then you look at now, it's just like he's running out for people. It's like that's not cool.
Dude, I loved sitting there watching Montez Ford walk up, and he's like, "Oh look, it's Carlito. It's cool." Just they're dude, fucking when they split up the Street Profits, I'm gonna be so sad, but I'm gonna see.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen.
You don't think so?
Just like the New Day, I don't think they'll ever split them.
You think
because one can't survive without the other.
Very
Same
true.
with the New Day.
I would love to see a singles run for Montez, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he could carry his own.
I was very surprised they didn't have him win in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get why he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, with Angelo Dawkins, I think the biggest thing with him is he's so damn good, but without Montez, he's not shit.
No. Dude, and that's the thing, man. Like Dawkins has improved so much. When they first debuted Street Profits, like Dawkins had multiple tag partners prior to, and I could not get behind them, dude. But they debuted him with Montez, and like it was instant gold. And every week he improves, and that's I love to see that. I love to see the improvement over the weeks, over the months, over the years. Like Dawkins has improved 1,000% from what he used to be, and I'm enjoying it. I love it.
And you're getting more personality out of him finally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it always takes that one partner for somebody to have to get that out of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's not just let's hope that it's not a rocker situation.
See, I don't think it's going to get to that point. I think it all depends on the direction they go with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
Because if Bobby's going to be like, oh, he's the weakest link in the team kind of thing, like, okay, I can see that. But then I also see Angelo nearing either a release or irrelevancy. And I don't want to see either one.
No, me either. Moving on. KO on fucking commentary. God, and I said this on TikTok, and I'm going to say it here. Give me more KO on commentary. I loved it.
Facts. When he started using the I don't remember what they're called, like telecast or whatever.
Yeah.
When he started drawing the faces, I'm like, bro, Kevin Owens on commentary is money.
Yes, dude. Corey, you can step away for like an extended period of time. Give us KO, dude. I would love it. I would.
And then when Cole, he was like, when KP's like, oh, which Kevin are you talking to? And then Owens is like, the Kevin that people want to hear.
Right. I thought it was funny. And then like when they spilled water on him, right? And he was sitting there and he was like, the shoving I can take. The water on the head I can take. Did he hit you, Cole? And Cole was like, yeah. He's like, he hit you with a water bottle. I was like, yeah, I can't take that. I was like, what?
I'm gonna go get suspended.
I'm gonna go get suspended. It fucking threw me, and I loved it. I love Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens on commentary. Give me more. I want more. Give me what I want. By Batista.
Give me what I want.
Give me what I want. But the final bit, the main event was a 6-woman tag team match where we seen Damage Control go up against Bianca, Asuka, and Charlotte. And you and I talked about it at the very beginning of the show where we seen Asuka get introduced. And I was like, I bet they turn Asuka. I bet they turn Asuka.
Somebody actually pointed something out in that promo when Asuka was sitting there, cutting her promo in Japanese.
Yeah.
If you look closely enough, Kairi had a smirk on her face.
Yeah. I seen that.
And I was like, okay, this could be something. And then, obviously when we went into the main event, I was freaking the hell out because I'm like, wow, Triple
Yeah.
H pulled the biggest trigger he could possibly pull in the women's division.
You know what I think they should have done? And I think that they should have done this. And it's odd to think about now after it. They should have put the translation to what she said on the bottom of the screen where nobody in the crowd could fucking see it, but we could see it. And we're like, we know what's going to happen, right? And like nobody else in the arena knows, but we're like, we fucking know what's happening. We can see it, right? But I think they did it perfectly, right? Where Bianca was going to get the tag and she had dove to get the hot tag and Bianca just, Asuka just hands up, was like, nope.
So good. And then the perfect Venom spit spot was just great.
Now, I think that there might be a twist in the women's.
There's going to be a double turn.
I think it's going to be a double turn. I'm not a double. I think Bailey would get kicked. Well, yeah, that would be considered a double turn.
Bailey gets kicked, and then somebody else could join the damage control.
Yeah. I think Bailey's going to get kicked out at the end of War Games, and I can see Xia Li joining, and Asuka would take the reins. I would love this.
So I love Xia. I think my only gripe with that idea is the way that they're pushing her and doing just the KOs on people and have no interaction with damage control so far. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not totally against it.
Dirt sheets that I've read, and I know they're dirt sheets and they may not be credible. Dirt sheets that I read said that along with Kairi Sane and Io Sky, there's going to be 2 more members. One is not associated with them or has gone against them. And the other one is completely obscure from the situation. And so that's why I'm saying I think it's going to be Xia Li coming in from Raw because they're not doing anything with her on Raw. They had her attack Becky, and I mean, maybe she goes up against Becky the Monday before.
And she also appeared on NXT too.
Yeah. What they could do is really fucking usher her in over to SmackDown. A smooth transition at War Games because she's gonna be in the goddamn building. She has to be,
right?
And they have her run in to save the day.
I heard that Triple H is interested in bringing in Julia from Stardom too.
Yeah,
I don't know how credible that whole thing is, but I would love to see her immediately go to the main roster because I don't feel like NXT will do her any good.
Yeah, very true. Who do you think is going to be the 4th member of the face team for the women's?
So if they do the Xia Li idea, I think Becky's going to be involved in some capacity, teaming up with Charlotte, even though they hate each other. I could see a Zoe Stark. I could see Indy Hartwell. You know, there's a lot of names I could throw out there.
Well, Zoe is going to be teaming with or going up against Mommy at
right. I don't know how I feel about that still. I like Zoe, but keep her away from a microphone.
Yeah, she needs a mouthpiece.
It's so bad. It's so freaking bad.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say I would love to see Jade fill that spot. And I know that you and I have had conversations where you say you don't think that should be her first match. What better way than to put her in a big fucking time? And then not to mention, Cody helped get her into the company. So,
right.
Like,
I think it would be cool for Chicago to see that.
Yeah.
Now, the only issue I would have with that is, you know, obviously the explanation that you gave, but also her standing face to face with Charlotte already, like as an opposition. I think it would just kind of be a little weird, especially, I don't know. See, like I would have to see how she's progressed in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, give me like a Monday night or an NXT or a SmackDown match before War Games. And then I'll say, okay, yeah, she's good. But if she hasn't improved and we're getting AEW Jade, absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. From my understanding, from what I've read, she's doing great in the ring. But I mean, then again, we're not seeing it, right? We're not seeing it on TV. Now, the huge speculation, and this is a name that I hate to bring up, and you're going to hate, and you're probably going to scoff at it. There's been a lot of rumors surrounding CM Punk.
Pepsi Phil.
Pepsi Phil, as I call him, CM Dumps. Now, guys, a little background. I used to love CM Punk, right? Like, I was a huge CM Punk fan, but all the toxic shit that happened, like I watched when he debuted in AEW and I loved it. I cried. Um, but all the stuff that people were saying about him became true, right? And like we don't know everybody's side of the story, but the side of the story we know is who Phil is as a fucking person. Um, Now there's a lot of speculation that he could sign with WWE. He could sign with Impact. He could sign with New Japan. Do you think WWE would sign CM Punk and have him debut at Summer or at Survivor Series because it is in Chicago?
So I'm just going to start off by saying I was one of those people that was a fan of his once upon a time ago. The last time I cared for him was the Straight Edge Society. Anything after that, didn't care. I was genuinely shocked when Tony Khan was able to bring him back into wrestling. But the second he came back and picked up a microphone and immediately started going after WWE like he has been on podcasts forever, I knew which way. I know the direction it was going to go. He had the feud with MJF where they name dropped so many WWE guys, that name dropped John Cena, that name dropped Miz, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
After that first media scrum, I'm like, okay, this is going to go one of two ways. Either this is going to be worked out backstage because Tony Khan is a quote-unquote great boss, which he's not, and things are going to get resolved, and they didn't, or it's going to get worse, and it did. And then the whole Jungle Boy thing happened.
Yep.
From what I've seen on Twitter, from what I've seen people write, whatever, there are some people that think that Tony Khan is working everybody and that CM Punk is still in AEW. But at the same time,
that's what they think.
Why would CM Punk be trolling on his MMA events with a guy wearing a WWE card in his suit? Why would he be replying to WWE guys on Instagram? I think WWE has either helped AEW work us into the ground, or we're going to see him return, which I genuinely don't want to see. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I can't make speculation just for the simple fact of how bad he has floundered since the media scrum. So I'm gonna go with maybe.
Okay. All right. I hope he doesn't. And like I'm at this, I'm not that person that advocates for somebody to lose their job. I advocate for Punk to lose his job.
And
right?
I think Jungle Boy should have lost his too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Both very unprofessional, especially on their biggest stage. Right. So yeah, I don't know what they do if they bring Punk back. Cool, but there's going to be a lot of heat. There'll be a lot of heat, right? On both Punk and on WWE, and we'll see what happens from there. I mean, WWE loves controversy, man. We already know that.
And the good thing about WWE is they won't let any of his bullshit fly. The whole locker room is not the AEW locker room. I would, and again, this is me just being a diehard WWE fan. I think there are more professionals in WWE than there are in AEW.
Yep, I agree. But guys, everybody that's checked it out, everybody that's jumped in the comments, we had one. Jump in the conversation next week. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your opinions and what you got going on. What you enjoy about pro wrestling, what you don't enjoy about pro wrestling, or sports entertainment for that matter. We're going to occasionally bring guests on, right? It's not going to be an every week thing, but I got some friends on TikTok and some friends on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure Chris got some fans on both that want to come on, want to share their opinion. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to share our opinions, share what we like and what we enjoy about wrestling, about the weekly product. Sometimes it's going to occasionally be a little bit bumming, right? We're going to talk about the things we don't like because, hey, we have a voice and we can talk about it. But our opinions are not fact and our opinions are not reality. Let's just remember that. But yeah, so until next week, I hope you guys have a good day. Chris, you got anything to say before we leave?
Acknowledge your tribal chief.
Oh. next week. Much love.